now. It's gonna be a while till that happens because it's gonna have to roll on its own power to get out of here and near some water. But either way, we're back at it on the FRS LS build. Gonna make some more progress on the rear bushing design. These aluminum solid bushings, and jump into a few more steps in preparation for the actual LS swap on the car itself. So we're gonna get after it, try to keep making some progress here. So stay tuned. The next step, we gotta get these diff bushings out of the subframe. So these are the factory Toyota ones. This one should be a little bit easier because it's actually sticking out from the subframe. You can see like down in there, there's a thicker metal, which is like the actual subframe. This thin piece of metal here is part of the bushing, but it's like the sleeve. So we want to get the sleeve out, leaving nothing but the subframe. Again, trying to make this like install more doable for the average person. I'm gonna attempt a couple other methods. They may or may not work very well, so we're gonna find out. Normally, in the shop side of things, we have an air hammer chisel set up where you get on one of these edges like this and you can kind of just drive it and it will work, basically fold it in a little bit and push it that way, and usually they'll come right out. I did throw some liquid wrench on here. I find that, you know, it can't hurt. Sometimes it gets in there and breaks up a little bit of that corrosion, and once it starts to move, it gives it a little something to slide on. But this one's gonna be a little more challenging, doing it like not the normal way with an air hammer. So I'm gonna try all kinds of stuff just to see what the hell happens. Like I said, it'll help you guys out if you don't have access to an air chisel, air hammer. You know, there's so many different ways to get bushings out of a subframe like this, but you know, there's certain ones that are a little riskier than others. The main thing is you just don't want to deform the subframe. So whatever you're doing, just keep that in mind. Make sure you're not beating the crap out of the subframe itself, because if it gets out of round, it's just going to make it a little bit harder installing the new bushings. Being that they're solid, I have seen the new bushings, when you drive them in, will kind of correct and fix the sheet metal if you do beat it up. So don't stress too bad, but I just want to make sure there's a good fit when you put the new bushing back in. So we're going to try a couple unorthodox methods, backyard mechanic style, and see what happens, and you can hopefully learn from my mistakes. Here's another view from the back. So you can see this part on the outside edge here is actually the subframe, but this thinner piece of metal is the sleeve that's part of the bushing. So once we start banging on that thing, it's going to come out this back side. That's the best way to remove it. Usually there's a taper. In my experience, it always installs from the side where it finishes flush. It gives you a reference if you're putting factory ones back in. So normally it would come out this way to remove it. All right, so since this edge sticks out quite a bit and I can get a nice solid hit with a hammer, I'm just gonna try to pop it here one time, just to see if I can get the thing to move on the back side. All right, yeah, so that already shifted a bunch. It looks like it's coming out pretty easy. So yeah, it's going much easier than I thought it would. Oh, well, that was real easy. All right, hammer method totally works. Keep in mind, these things are full of fluid. This one's probably already leaked it all out, but you want to be careful if you're beating on this thing. It might squirt you, or if you're doing some other method like trying to burn it out. But that one comes out real easy. You can see the flange it locates on is actually really thin, so it's not a lot of contact on the bushing itself. This one's definitely going to be a little more difficult because I can't get in here and hit, because this is actually subframe right here. The bushing's further down in or inset. All right, just for the hell of it, I'm gonna, obviously this is rubber, so it's probably gonna absorb all my impact, but I'm gonna see if I crack it real good, if it even moves the bushing at all. Nope, that method is worthless. So yeah, we got to get in here and contact the edge. Be great to have my air hammer back here at the moment, but no such luck. So going to try another method here. We'll see what I can come up with. All right, so now to drive out this other side, we're gonna push it out the back just like that, using this steel rod. So basically, it's got like a pretty sharp corner on it, so it should catch the edge of that steel liner on the bushing, and then hopefully we'll be able to drive it out. You know, again, I'd rather use the air chisel, but I'm also trying to show you guys a way that most people should be able to do. Check and see if I got any movement. Doesn't appear to be a lot. Let's try hitting it harder. When in doubt, smash it. Whoops. All right, that is not working so good. Part of the problem is it's just a little bit too much diameter-wise to get it down in here. There we go, that sounds a little more. Yeah, it's not really moving, so on to another method. I think I got spoiled by this one, came out so easy. So again, air hammer, if you got it, you can put the chisel on there and just jam this thing right out of there in probably 5 minutes, but I'm gonna keep attempting to push rope here and try this with some other backyard method. All right, so I've tried just about every method I can think of back here in our YouTube room. There's probably a few others, but I'm gonna concede to this bushing and break out the air chisel, air hammer. Unfortunately, it's just the only way to go, and to avoid spending way too many hours trying to do this, like I originally said, I'm gonna wave the white flag and then take the air hammer to this sucker and be done with it. I'll probably end up using the air hammer on the diff too, just looking that over some more to get those front bushings out. It's gotta be the easiest way to do it. So long story short, get yourself an air hammer, air chisel if you're gonna do this job. But let's get after it. starting to break through up top here. Once that goes through, then it'll relieve all the pressure, and the rest of the bushing should just come right out. Moving. Yay! There she is. All right, that wasn't fun, but now we're done that. Time to move on to the rear, the front two bushings on the rear. So let's do that next. All right, as you can see, one bushing is already out of this rear. That's because I tried about every different method I could back in the YouTube room, and air hammer, air chisel is literally the only way to go. I mean, I'm sure there's still another option, but it just seems like nothing works as good as good old-fashioned air power. So I drove the first one out. I'm going to show you real quick what we did. I tried everything from a puller to, well, the problem is it has to go out this way, and you can't really get anything inside of here without pushing on this rubber, and the rubber just flexes, so it doesn't work. With the air hammer, you can get on this lip right here and drive it right out. So we're gonna make some noise here in a second and show you how we do that. Hot damn! All right, so as you can see, that was a giant pain in the butt, but we got it out. I got covered in oil, so keep in mind there is fluid inside of these. As soon as you pop it, it's gonna spray stuff out on you, but this air chisel, air hammer is like the only way to go, so I would suggest trying to find a buddy that has one of these, or buy one yourself if you're gonna do this install, because it's kind of a make or break. So on to the next step. All right, so here's the FRS BRZ rear subframe. These two holes are the rear bushings we're going to design. So we've got this CAD data from the ferro arm that gives us the exact surfaces and dimensions that we can develop the bushings around. Then we got the front bushings go up in here. So we got all these planes. We can start from this as the base, and then we got to put the rear into this image and locate it to then build the bushings. All right, so now I added the rear end into this drawing, so it's in the exact position it would be sitting in the actual subframe itself. So from here we can design the bushings to retain this exact location of the rear and eliminating all that rubber in the assembly, so it'll be much stiffer. Basically reduce that movement to nothing. Alright, so here's the initial prototype we came up with. The appearance could change a little bit from this to production, but this has all the right dimensions to lock this rear in, press into the subframe itself, and make sure that rear's in the right location. Alright, this is what we came up with for the left side. Same thing as the right. Whole locations and everything. Put the rear where it needs to be in the factory location. Just locking everything in solid. No rubber, no movement. We'll cut these bushings from 6061 billet aluminum. So now we've got these two bushings placed in the subframe. Again, locking the rear in where it needs to be. This left side has a sleeve that's not in this picture at the moment that this presses into, but you can see it contacts the back of the bushing here, right on the rear, so locking that in. So next thing we got to do is design the front bushings that go in these right and left sides. Here's the bushing for the lower side. So the top bushing sets the height, and this actually just is more of like a spacer, fills in. It gives you somewhere good and solid to tighten the bolt down on, kind of locking everything in. Here's the initial design for the front upper bushing. This is going to go on the top side against the subframe, or in between the subframe and the rear. So this presses in. Again, solid 6061 aluminum. Alright, so here we go. Rear is all locked in. We got the rear bushings installed, the front bushings installed. At this point, we're ready to either do some prototypes, some 3D prints, not sure which way we're going to go. And again, cosmetically, these might change a little bit, but as far as the locations and the thicknesses and diameters and all that, these are going to be the same as the finished product, just cosmetically the look and feel of these might change a little bit from here to a production version, but you can see what it looks like for the most part. All right, so I'm going to wrap this episode up right here. Next step, we've got to machine these actual bushings or prototypes. We'll probably make something that's very simple, doesn't have anything aesthetic on it like logos or graphics, but it's really just to check fit, quicker and easier for us to machine. Probably even run it in one of the lathes here in the next couple days. But machine shop's really busy, just keeping up with regular production stuff, so we got to sneak that R&D stuff in there. But next episode, I promise we'll definitely do some more swap related stuff to the car. Got a bunch of little odds and ends to punch out here before we get to the big stuff like putting the pan on the motor and setting the engine in. So we're going to start getting into that. Thanks for your patience on that, but we had to take this little detour to get these bushings worked out. But I think it's going to be a huge benefit to this car in general, and it's really going to help get that power to the ground like we need it. So like always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell notification, and I'll catch you on the next one.